And this speaker has a background in industrial design. You know, they studied industrial design, but then became a little bit, discontent with the kind of waste that's associated with that and the very active consuming that happens along with industrial design sometimes, and then pivoted a little bit to being very playful with industrial design and products and output, and creating very playful ways to use physical objects. Became a very, very talented stop-motion animator and a very, very playful creator. I've enjoyed her work for a long time, and it always puts a smile on my face. And it's the wonderful Dina Amin. Now, I don't know if people have spotted Dina around, but she has been subtly here from time to time. And she is always wonderful to see her work. It's so playful, so entertaining, and so joyous. I get a real thrill from seeing it. And it has a lovely kind of message along the way about nothing goes to waste, and also just the value of being playful. So I think, unless there's any other admin, I think we're about ready to go. Are you ready for your next day? Are you ready for the day? I want to, oh, do you want some chocolate? Okay. Dina, I was starting to give you an intro, and now I'm throwing chocolate out. You're okay with this, are you? Are you cool with this? Because there are people at the back that want chocolate. People at the front, you can come up if you want. And do you want to throw some of this? Yeah. We'll make sure you get a round of applause properly as well. Okay. I think
Sorry.
the key is to not make it go like a laser, because I think I almost took someone's eye out earlier on. So
I can't see anything. So
you can't say anything. So it's a leap of faith. Go by the screams. If anyone screams, okay. I heard it land. I can see a hand over there. I've no idea if these come down or not. Okay. One more. Okay, what a bizarre introduction. What a bizarre introduction. Okay, please make her very, very welcome. It's the wonderful Dina Amin.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Dina Amin. I'm a stop-motion animator and a maker from Cairo, Egypt. Dina with a small d. I really, really hate capital Ds. And a lot of people don't like that. They love grammar too much. But I have a very valid reason for this, because when I see a capital D, this is what I see. This is something that I notice I've been doing all my life. I look at mundane objects and things and imagine them coming to life. And I had no idea that this will become my career one day. But before I tell you how I started my career, let me tell you my very first entrepreneurial, I got it right from the first time, I can't believe it, venture. When I was 10 years old, me and my business partner, my brother, we decided to sell Spice Girls and Backstreet Boys postcards to our friends. I tried to recreate the memory using AI. It's a bit off, but just a bit. So he told me, Dina, we buy this for 50 cents, and we're going to sell it for £1 to our friends, and then all the money we make on the weekend, we'll buy all the candy we want. So I thought, OK, great idea. They were a great, great hit. The only few bands we had in Egypt back then. So I went to school. I sold them all. The problem is my friends didn't really have the money. So I told them, that's fine. Just give me 50 cents, and we're good. So I went back to my brother. I was like, here's all the money I made. And he told me, you haven't actually made any money. I was like, how come? I have money. So he explained the concept of profit to me, and it's an interesting concept. I had no idea. Now, I actually run a stop-motion studio, and I work with really big brands like Lego, YouTube, Vice, Leica, Pixar. I don't know how this happened. Actually, no, this is the whole point of this talk. So how did I actually start tinkering and how I got into all of this? So as Phil said, I studied industrial design in Malaysia, and I really, really loved it. But I did hate a part of it where everything we design kind of gets thrown away, especially in a country in Egypt where low price is really, really needed there. So most of the things we have there are of very low quality. They work for like a month or something, and then they end up not working and they're thrown away. This is a photo from a Friday market in Egypt, and literally everything there is handpicked by sellers from garbages or from other people, and they're sold for a little amount to be repurposed, reused, or just fixed and used again. And this is a moving train, and this is very extremely fine in Egypt. You can find all sorts of things there, and I loved going there just to look and see what I can find there. And yeah, so after I got back from Malaysia, I did not find any product design jobs in Egypt. So I worked in design research, I worked a bit in graphic design, and I worked a bit in social media management. And then years passed, and I found myself feeling very, very lost. I was okay with learning all of these different things because I was learning new skills, but at some point I felt I'm just accepting whatever is an opportunity in Egypt, but I'm not actually happy with what I'm doing. And this thought came to my head that what if I'm not gonna find, this one thing, your one passion that you're supposed to find in life by just stumbling upon it while experiencing different things? What if I'm not gonna find it because it's not there? And it's not there because it's still not available in Egypt. So I'm not meant to find it, but maybe I'm meant to start it. And with that idea, I got really excited because this is something that I can do, a step I can take. So I did my very favorite thing. I got a pen and a paper, and I started writing a list. So I wrote a list of all the things, like sort of all the criteria I thought I wanted in a job. So for example, I wanted to solve a problem since I'm a product designer. I wanted something that I would love, something that I would spend a lot of time doing and not get bored, something that would be financially rewarding, something that I can explain to my parents, something that a career where I can grow in, and so on. And the more I did this, I thought when I'm narrowing it down, I could find it easier, but it was actually harder to find. So I thought, let's start all over. I'm just gonna pick one of these and start from there, and then maybe the rest will follow. And when I did this, when I asked myself, what is the priority for me, I chose that I wanna do something that I could do for hours and hours and not get bored. So it's something I truly love. If someone asked me if you had to do one thing your whole life, what would it be? That would be the thing. And when I asked myself this question, it was very, very easy to answer. Oh, I pressed something wrong. Yeah. I was then sitting, I did this list while I was sitting in my empty room. We were moving houses. And in this room, there was one box that wasn't allowed in the new house. And it was a box of all the bits and pieces and all the broken products that I collected from friends and family and from the market. And I looked at it and somehow convinced myself that my true calling is to take products apart. I don't know how it made sense back then, but it was the thing that I wanted to do, I could do for hours and not get bored. So at that moment, I found the yellow paper, I took it, I took one of the products, I took it apart and decided to document the whole process on Instagram. And while I was doing this week after week, I would just make educated guesses of what's inside this product, how does it work, why is it broken, how is it assembled, and just explore, just research, basic research about the process. in the back of my head, I thought that maybe one day I'm going to redesign one of these products to become more sustainable. But I did say, I'm just going to go with the flow. How will this turn into a career? I have no idea. How will I explain this to my parents? I have no idea. But I gave myself a timeline. I'll try this for 6 months. Every single weekend, like on a Friday, I'm going to do this exercise and just see where it goes. One weekend, one Friday, I was taking this shaver apart, and it had so many pieces, and it was amazing to me. It was kind of like a puzzle, and I wanted to show that. I didn't want to show just a still photo, and I know this thing called stop motion, so I got this slideshow app. I didn't even know there were stop motion apps, and I started taking photos, made like a 1-minute video, and I was trying to post it on Instagram, but back then, Instagram only took 15 seconds videos. So I went on Google and wrote something like how to make stop motion videos faster. And I learned about frame rate. I didn't even know what that was. So I learned that in stop motion, you can animate on ones or twos. So if I want to move my hand from here to here, and I'm animating on ones, then I need 24 separate frames to make my movement. If I'm animating on twos, then I need just 12 frames, but I double each frame. So I thought, wow, there's obviously a lot I don't know about this stop motion thing. And I got really excited about it. And I thought, from now on, every single weekend, I'm going to do a stop motion video instead. And this is how Tinker Friday was born. I did this for a year and a half. Every single Friday, I made over like 35 or 40 videos, I can't remember. And this is how I taught myself how to animate in stop motion. And it went very slowly. So I would learn just one thing every Friday. So for example, I started seeing characters in the pieces and started to make characters that had a little story in them. This is a, do you know what that is? It is this, when mobile phones were that big and you put it in your belt, it was a big fashion statement. You had to like show it that you have a phone. So I think it's called a mobile pouch. I don't know. They're obsolete now, but they do exist. They're thrown away somewhere. And this is what's inside. Sorry. Where was I? Sorry. Oh. We'll watch it again. I enjoyed, thank you. I enjoyed making these every single weekend. I would pick a product not knowing what's inside or how I'm gonna animate it, but every weekend I'll try to learn something new. So bit by bit it started progressing. Like here I would make my videos more 3D, there was more sounds in it, more complicated characters. I really didn't know anything about stop motion. I didn't even have a camera or a tripod. I would literally just tape my phone to the table. All I knew was the basic idea of stop motion, that I need to take photos and move my object. And really what I wanted to do is just take the ideas inside my head and see them in the real world. It did progress. So this was my studio. I moved later on. I moved in the toilet. I just put a table in front of the toilet because I have a reason. I could manage the light better in a smaller space. So I did borrow a camera from my friend, I did buy a tripod, and I got the stop motion studio software, and I was progressing. I still didn't consider myself as an animator. I was just having fun with it. That was the last one I did in that series. And it also is the first thing that I remember taking apart. I used to pull my doll's eyes out just to know how they open and close. And I remember giving my mom nightmares when she saw me doing that. And that's what's inside my doll head. So, thanks. So you can see there's a lot of progress from the first video to the last video. I learned a lot about lighting, I played with it, I learned how to do sound effects, all the storytelling became more complex and the animation is a bit better. And I learned a lot of things from this passion project. I learned that there's always an idea. I had no idea. Every single weekend, I had no idea, no clue what I was going to do, but I sat down and there was always an idea. It's just like exercising. The more you do it, the better you get at it. I learned that tools do not make you more creative. You're creative, hence we make the tools. Tools they just make you faster, they make you more efficient, but you can absolutely just use a lot of glue and you can get it done. I also learned that making like 30 small projects is a lot better when learning a new skill than just making one massive project. Usually, a lot of people come to me and they're like, we really want to do our first short film. This is like the first thing we're gonna do in stop motion, but we can't get it done. And I'm telling them, this is the problem. You're learning a new skill and you have a massive goal and you're trying to achieve it at once. Break this down into 30 smaller goals, and you achieve one and you get more confidence, you learn a lot of things, then you achieve the second one. But usually what happens is they put this massive goal, they try to reach it, but they get demotivated and they stop it. And then they try again, they can't, and then they stop. So it takes them like 7 years to make their first short movie, which is not good. I also learned that bundling projects under a theme is more powerful for your portfolio, and that limitations are really essential when you're trying to make your own project brief. Like for me, for example, my limitation was that I need to pick one product, take it apart, and turn it into a stop-motion video. And within this limitation, I was able to make a lot of different ideas, so it's easier that way. It did eventually turn into a career, but I learned a lot from this project, but it was also a bit hard for me to learn how to turn it into something. And one massive thing that was making it a problem for me is that I was always thinking about what's my title now. So am I an animator? Will I just admit that I kind of failed at product design and now I'm into animation? I'm not also I'm using products, but I'm not a product designer because I'm breaking things and not making them. And I had this idea that, okay, the only way I'm gonna make it into animation is that I need to do all sorts of animation to really make a sustainable business. So I need to learn how to do 2D animation, and I really wasn't that very good at drawing. I needed to do 3D animation, which I'm not really into. Even within stop motion, if I wanna do stop motion, then I need to do all sorts of stop motion. So I animate with clay, paper, sand, whatever material. I really hated touching clay. I couldn't do it at all. All I wanted to do is just animate objects. And it took me a lot of time to decide what I want to do, and I would try to make something and then back out of it because I thought maybe I should stick to product design. This is what I was really good at. I graduated top of my class, and then I'm like, but I really enjoy stop motion as well, but how can I make it into a business when I only want to do a very, very specific thing? Until one day I thought, why do I even have to choose? Why do I have to have one title? Why can't I just do anything that I want? I could be a stop motion animator, I could be a chef one day, I could be a product designer when I'm getting bored, anything. And what I really wanted to do then is make a miniature version of a air dancer. And I wanted to make it out of trash. So I thought, who's gonna stop me? I'd made it. And when I made this, I put it up on YouTube, and a magazine saw it, and they put it in their newsletter. And there's a guy called Mark who saw it, and he sent me an email. Where's Mark? Yeah. And he saw it, and he sent me an email, and he said, Dina, I hate writing my name in a capital M as well. Would you come to, I run a conference, would you come to Beyond Talleyrand and speak? And that was my very first conference. I thought, well, I wasn't really doing much, but this guy wants me to go to Germany. Why not? I'll go. So I went, and that was the best thing that happened in my life because I got to meet a lot of creative people, and this is exactly what I was missing, because the way I was working, it wasn't common at all in Egypt. I was kind of the only one who was trying to go in a path that is not common at all. And when I went there, I met a lot of other artists and creatives, and from that conference, I got to go to many, many other conferences and meet more people. And although I could see that everyone kind of have their own path, but they did make it work somehow. And I learned a lot from this, and they became really like a support network for me. So with this boost of confidence, I actually made it happen. So I started believing in myself more, and I started getting more and more opportunities that are really aligned with what I want. My very first collaboration or client, it was a company called iFixit. They're kind of a Wikipedia of how to fix things, which is extremely aligned with what I wanted to do. And we did this series of videos for them. And then after I did that, I decided to do one video where I combined all of the products we took apart into one where it transforms into each product. And I made this one. And it actually won a Vimeo Best of the Year in 2020. And I also turned it into an AR print, a limited edition of 50 that sold all over the world. I did not imagine at all that just one video that I make will have all of this result afterwards. I also now travel all over the world, and I teach people how to take products apart, animate them, and turn them into characters. I do workshops like there's Qatar, Denmark, Berlin, Saudi Arabia, Armenia, Thailand. If someone would have told me this, like when I was first starting in my tiny room, told me that you're gonna travel the world and make people break products and have fun, I would have told them, no way, no way. I also get to build really, really cool things. I made this one for Lego, and I wanted to make a big doll's eye mechanism where the eye opens and closes when you tilt it. And finally, my doll's eye pulling was fruitful. I went and showed this to my mom. I was like, see, 30 years later, it had a purpose. I was very, very proud of this collaboration because as far as I know, I'm the only only designer in the Middle East who have worked and built things for Lego. So I'm very, very proud of that. And thank you. Thank you so much. And the more I focused on what I do best, animating products in ways and objects in ways that people have never seen before, I realized that my background actually in product design is what differentiates my ideas than other people. So it's not that I kind of failed in product design and now I'm being a stop motion animator. It's kind of mixing all of the things I love together to come up with new ideas. For example,
once upon a time in a land far, far away.
This is a talking book. Also, when I'm animating characters, usually the now traditional way to do it in stop motion is to make a mold, make a silicon character, have armature inside and all of this. But I just also wanted to animate objects. Sorry. I did make the sound effects. I made this video in 2019. I wanted to learn how to make loops, and I called it what I try to put my life together, because I felt I'm always this close, and then it all falls apart. And 2019 was a really bad year until 2020 happened. I felt like, wow, 2019 was amazing. And the previous one was a passion project. And I love doing all of these experiments because they usually turn into client work. So I made this one for Adult Swim, and it was a really fun project. I did like very serious research to get it done right. I tried to really get into the tape character and become one with it, and it was really fun to do. Thank you. So in my work, I really try to combine all of the things I love together. So I love product design, I love woodworking, I love upcycling, I love stop motion, and I try to mix it all together and come up with new ideas. I like experimenting with passion projects like this because it kind of makes me experience new ideas before I pitch them to clients. So for example, I thought this would take 4 days. It took 2 weeks to animate. So now I know. I also, remember I told you I do whatever I think I want to do. So I wrote a song and I sang it. Here it is.
Treasure hunt, I'm going on a treasure hunt. One man's trash is another man's treasure. I'm walking the streets of Cairo, I'm walking the streets of Cairo to find the perfect piece of metal. I'm going to put it in a box, up it goes onto its shelf. All I want in this life is to sit down and make a chest, lips and toes and knees and head. Look at this creature I brought to life. I'm going on a treasure hunt, I'm going on a treasure hunt. What will I find and what shall I build?
So, thank you. This actually was my first single, and it got viral. It was watched by over 10 million people. It was quite the hit because it's relatable to most people, not everyone, but most people As kids, they just walked around and they picked things from the street and they tried to imagine it becoming something else. This one still didn't lead into any client work, but I was really hoping to do something for kids one day. I also make things that I see in my dreams, like this one. I built something I saw in a dream. I saw a happy memory of me as a kid wearing silly straws. Then I saw grown-up me wearing something like silly straws, but on my head. It had 6 party horns on top, and when I blew from one end, it turned into a crown. Yay! I expected this to be a very simple build. A couple of hours build. One day, max. But okay. I have to figure out why they don't all work at the same time, and if it's because I'm old and I cannot blow 6 horns at the same time. And see, so this one is...
I thought it would be an easy one, but my lungs are not doing the right thing.
Okay, only this left. I tried so many things. Switching all the pieces, checking for any air leaks, doing so many fixes and gluing things over and over. All were working, but one. Oh my god. Oh, why isn't it working? Oh my god. It just does this. By the way, I did this for my 35th birthday. There was absolutely no logic. So I removed them all and started adding them one by one to figure it out. And finally, I could feel where the leak was from, kind of. Oh my god. So I decided to go ahead and cover it all up. It will make all the fittings tighter, and this should solve the problem, I hoped. And it worked.
Happy birthday to me.
Thank you. Oh, I have to remember to stand here because you won't see me. So I think the key to my success is the bliss of ignorance. I have absolutely no idea what I'm getting myself into, and this is a really good thing. And also a lot of glue. If this advice is applicable to some of you, please embrace it. Thank you so much. You can find me on Instagram as Dina Amin. Thank you. Thanks for waking up super early, and thanks for all of the team for inviting me. I want to tell you something about my name, because I usually go by Dina Amin, but I put an honorary A in the middle for my father's name. His name is Ahmed, and he got really upset that I'm using my grandfather's name, Dina Amin, because he tells me, you haven't even seen him. He died before you were born, so why are you not using my name? But his name is Ahmed, and half the guys in Egypt are Muhammad, and the other half are Ahmed. So I put an A in the middle for him. So thank you.
Wonderful. Dina, are you happy to come and chat for a couple of minutes? Great.
Should I sit here?
Yeah, take a seat there. We'll chat. Oh, I'm okay. I'm overflowing with questions. First of all, a practical question as I reassemble the set after I just sort of destroyed it earlier on. A practical question. When you, so deconstructing these objects and then characters like spring forth from it, just, I was curious, have you already deconstructed one of these things to examine them before you do that? Or are you, it feels like the process of stop motion means that you have to have a plan, right? So you can't just discover the characters as you go along, or do you? I'm just kind of curious about that myself.
Both ways.
Both, okay.
So usually I would deconstruct it, look at all of the pieces, have an idea, and then put it back together and animate it.
Yeah.
But there are some products like the mobile belt thing that I cannot take it apart and then put it back together. So I kind of improvise and just take it apart, and midway I would try to imagine what it could become.
Okay.
So it's a tough challenge, but it's very fun to just trust the process and just go without knowing anything and trusting that something is gonna happen.
I feel like you have to have nerves of steel to do that, or just real faith in the process. It's cool. There was another practical question that came from the audience, and Jack was asking, and I had a similar thought actually. How do you remember what treasure is in what box? You look like you are organized. You must be collecting and gathering and sorting and organizing and.
I have a system.
I have a system.
Trash system. Trasher system.
That's amazing. It looked really gratifying, the kind of organization you put in place for there. But you must always just be on the lookout. Do you find that when you're just going through your day-to-day life, you're just like, oh, hang on, there's a thing there.
Yeah, of course.
Just kind of permeates everywhere.
It finds me. I don't find it. It finds me.
Right. Yeah. And there was another. It finds me. Well, it kind of relates to another question we had, which was about kind of finding that spark of like something that triggers your imagination, and like when you're looking through these discarded objects, is there something specific you're looking for to kind of spark your imagination to think, okay, this has potential to become some sort of character, something I can do something with?
Yeah. Usually I think every piece has potential, so I don't differentiate, but I do like colors, as you see. So if I find a colorful piece, I would pick it up if it has an interesting new shape. But the key is to just look at this piece and trying to strip away all of its labels and try to look at it differently and see it in different ways.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've also got a question. I mean, you made a point about the power of small projects versus okay, like a giant, epic, who knows where the end of that project is. And I feel like we can, I think a lot of us can relate to that. And we've been in those kind of long marches that seem to last forever. But there's also, when you're embarking into these projects, you're kind of saying that you discover yourself what it's going to be as you're working on it. So has it been hard to become comfortable with the unknown and just thinking, okay, well, done is better than perfect, but I don't know what done looks like? That feels quite daunting to me. Has that been something that's been hard for you to get comfortable with? Very, very hard. But the more you do it, the more that you get confident with the process, and you kind of have to remind yourself, especially if you can tell I'm kind of a perfectionist. So I'm very into details, and I kind of get lost in the details, and I don't see the bigger picture sometimes. Yeah. So knowing that I tend to do this, and I tend to really want to make things in the perfect way, I have to stop myself and remember that done is better than perfect. Right. Like, for example, at the very beginning, I knew I'm a designer, so I knew that my videos looked terrible, but I told myself it's better to just put it out there. If I'm going to perfect it, I will never finish. Right. Yeah. And perfect is such a subjective thing, right? I mean, I think we can all see that all of your videos there, right from the very early ones through to the ones that were later, they all have a particular kind of character and charm that could easily get polished away to be kind of charmless. And that was one of the questions that came in, just the fact that these days using AI we can do so many things just kind of quite simply and to kind of this odd level of kind of polish and perfection. Have you found that clients approaching you are seeking you because of the character and the charm and the fact that it does look like it's real because it is about as authentic and real as it can be.
Yeah, definitely. Especially that even with AI, you can recreate stop motion and recreate this flow, like this kind of handmade, like all the what is it called? What did he say? The word. Like not 100% perfect,
Yeah.
but clients now send me and they want to emphasize that it is made by humans.
Right.
So they don't just ask for the final animation. They want the behind the scenes. They want to show that it's made by a human.
Yeah.
They want to show my hands in it. They want to show that it was created by human. Because this is the most magnificent thing about stop motion, that a human sat down and did this complicated thing.
Right.
This is the charm of it, that is made by hand.
Absolutely.
And stop motion made it through 3D animation and all of these other technologies.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's going to die anytime soon.
That's great. And I mean, I think you could feel the reaction in the room was even more enthusiastic when you could see the behind the scenes as well.
Yes, yes.
You know, whether it's the slightly wider shot of you actually performing the stop motion, or the very rigorous research that I'm sure you weren't at all self-conscious doing, sitting on that rocking horse outside. I particularly love that.
Usually the behind the scene video actually is watched way more than the final
really?
video. It's really upsetting.
But it's great. I mean, in this world of content and trying to find content, if you could make two things from one, because behind the scenes is...
And I think because the final video, people are like, is this stop motion? Is this AI? Is this 3D? But when they do see the behind the scenes, they know for sure that a human made it.
Yeah. I feel desperate just to ask you lots of questions about the practicalities of stop motion itself, but I want to just turn a little bit to some slightly wider themes, right? Because I think I find it quite inspiring that you studied one thing and then you discovered something that was not even really adjacent to it. It was just it was such a tangent to it, and the value in the unknown and discovering something that was unexpected. It just feels really empowering, the fact that you could do that. Have you got any words of advice for people who were just tempted by that? Because it feels like a real leap of faith to say, I can make a career out of this, and that was no guarantee at the start of that journey, right?
Yeah. I think that two things. I think that I like not to have imagine like what would this lead to. So don't imagine any scenarios, whether big or small, because you have no idea exactly what this will lead. All you need to focus on is taking one step at a time without thinking of the end result.
Right.
And it has worked greatly for me, because I would have never imagined that I would reach all of this. I did have like some hopes and goals, but I found out that these dreams were really, really small compared to what actually happened.
Right.
So now I just don't like put any scenarios in my head, and I just take steps, make the thing, put it out there, talk with people, send this email, and just make it happen. Another thing is that whatever path or career you had before, it's not that this will end and you're just gonna totally shift to something else, even if it's very different. Like, for example, for me, I did learn a lot from product design, and I did apply it in stop motion, whether it's technical skills like fabrication, or just the fact that in product design, we kind of design a product that is not in the market, and we know that when we put it out there, people will be like, oh, this is something I need so much, and they had no idea that they actually need it. And I kind of adopted the same thing when I made my stop motion videos, because other animators in Egypt who try to get into stop motion, they usually studied animation, and they look at the market and they're like, stop motion is not really needed, so we're not gonna make it. But I got into this path, and I thought it doesn't really matter because I'm gonna make it and put it in the market and people will want it.
Yeah.
So I adopted this kind of thinking from product design into my career in stop motion as well.
Yeah, it's really inspiring stuff. I think that there are so many other questions I'd love to ask you, so many lessons I think we can learn, but for now, just because of time, we're going to have to wrap it up. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you for being a secret this whole time.
I want to add something.
Yeah.
I have a lot of props from my videos, and we're going to do an unplugged session, me and Nadi.
Oh.
So you can come and see all of the things I brought.
Nice.
Nadi has some cool stuff as well.
Nice. Good plug for your unplugged session later on. Pun not intended, but also not avoided. Thank you
so
again. A big round of applause,
everyone.
please, for Dina. Amin.